Yeah, we're off to a good start for Spey Nation this year.
50 packages of hot hamburger, 32 packages of hot sauce.
Close them up.
Slow down, I'm banging out.
Where are you from, Sean?
Richmond, Virginia, now Clifton Park. Yeah.
You gonna come up here in the fall?
I am. Yeah, I've heard about the salmon for years, and I've heard good and bad, and I want to see it for myself.
Where are you from?
Clinton, New York.
Just down the road.
Just down the road.
You get to come up here and spey fish?
All the time. I enjoy it, especially in the fall. I don't do as much as my son. My son is the guy. He teaches me how. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't get too far. But I enjoy it, especially with the bigger fish.
You don't come up in the 33-degree water?
My son does, not I.
My little lift, nice and slow. I'm taking the tension off the line from the water, so when I go to set the line back, it rolls off nice and easy. Is grip. A lot of people actually grip the rod with both hands. And what it does, it makes it hard to actually feel the load and use the upper hand. If you allow the rod to float in your fingers, try to grip it like this. It allows you to load the rod and feel the load. So, Scandi, just nice fun, easy casting, great beginner's line, great learning line. Skagit, ditto, easy casting, great learning, casting big flies and sea tips. And then Spey, they're long. They're really long heads. This is 32 foot. The head I got on there for the uni Spey, that head's about 59, 60 foot long. Almost. The next stage of evolution of Spey casting in terms of the raw basics is understanding the significance of this thing here called a D-loop. What D-loop is for the load? You know, to make a cast, you have to make the rod bend. If the rod bends, the rod's doing the work, and if the rod doesn't bend, you're doing it. So, if I'm out here and I've got a D-loop, the rod will load against that D-loop and the cast unrolls because of it. And the bigger that D-loop is, like let's say I send the D-loop back there, the further back the D-loop goes, the more weight there is, therefore the more bend there is, therefore the better the cast. So I can do a small D-loop like this, and do a nice little gentle, ooh, watch me cast. It doesn't go anywhere. With a small D-loop, I need to put a little bit of zip into it. But with a big D-loop, you don't need any. So there's a bigger D-loop, but look how little forward stroke I need. I need nothing. Because the D-loop loads it up. Again, try that same gentle forward stroke with a small D-loop. Doesn't work. So you've always got a ratio to play with. The bigger that D-loop is, the less work you do as a caster. That's a good thing. And the smaller that D-loop is, the more work you have to do because you have to bend the rod to make the cast. So that's the first step of kind of understanding is play around with the D-loop. Make it a little bit bigger. Oh, make it a bit bigger still. I mean, the ultimate D-loop is where the end of the orange is going to land level with you. Right? Because then what is your line? Your entire line is D-loop. If my tip of my fly line lands here, I can tell, well, hi, I've got a 32 foot head, the tip's 26 feet in front of me, so I've only got 6 foot of D-loop. So you don't physically have to watch your D-loop, because that's hard. You know, you go, ooh, where's my D-loop? And then you're spinning your body around, losing your axis and everything like that. So don't necessarily watch the D-loop. Watch where the line tip lands. And the further back you see it come, oh, there's a nice one. Okay, oh, that's further back, that's a bigger D-loop. Well, that landed less in front of me, that's a smaller D-loop. So watching the line tip gives you the indication of how successful the D-loop is when we can load in well. Now there's one other factor that is so important to understand about the D-loop, and that is the relation of the D-loop in the air to the grip of the line on the water, the stick, the anchor. There has to be an anchor. That's absolutely the first thing to understand, because if you don't have an anchor, if the line doesn't grab the water, this is what happens. Terrible. It's a real obvious thing. I'm going to come up this calm water so you can see it. You get this giant spray. See that big spray of the line there? You see that big white mouse, some people call it, that big spray? That's too much line in the water. The correct line doesn't make that spray. Look at that, there's no ripple, no splash. So the correct load is splashless basically. The bad load, too much stick, big spray. If you watch the reel, if you do it right, if you do it wrong, the reel doesn't do anything. But if you do it right, you don't tap the leg, that's what happens to the reel. It turns. You get that little snap at the end. It's a very good little snap exercise to see if you're getting that snap. And right at the end of the stroke. Don't snap here, snap there, at the end of the stroke. That's the difference of stroke. You hold the rod still, and the top hand drives over, and the top hand does all the work. And the blue stick is big and long. So a good first stroke to practice and develop is something like this. This is called a loading move. And then at the top, it rotates in the bottom half. But note that the rod doesn't rotate straight away. The back half, the rod starts to rotate. And a good forward stroke, the rod holds and rotates right at the end. Now every time the rod holds, when you do it at full speed, the rod bends against this thing with the heel. Just in here, with the heel. So I want my rod to bend against that heel. But if I do this, look, the heel can come in. That rod doesn't work. As long as I keep this, and the heel stays there, loads the rod, and then you get the maximum energy when you rotate. Some of this is going to be...
overhead cast. A Belgian cast is where you kind of come through, you come underneath. So did everyone see that? So you got overhead, right? You follow the flag, goes this way, and then it starts to dip. No matter what, I can't stop it from falling out. If I let it drift and let it basically like a double haul, let it flying out, it's still going to drop. But on a Belgian cast, if I come through underneath, where's that flag going? Up. So you're on a beach, look behind you, dunes, sand, rocks, shells, people, whatever. So you want to build up momentum and stay low, everything comes across the surface and up instead of coming down. So I don't know if anyone else does it, I certainly do it. You're casting it, I don't know how to do it working, your fly has no hook because you tipped it off on the rock behind you. So now I have a line and a rod that I can throw underneath and throw out. But in an overhead cast, you're no longer loading from the water, you're loading in the air. Right? So your lines is, so if you want to take...
You guys do most of your two-handed fishing here, Salmon River?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's all the time.
And you catch a lot of fish?
Yes.
You do? Because what I hear is you don't catch as many fish.
All fishermen catch a lot of fish.
Do you swing flies or are you dead drifting?
I swing.
You do?
I swing too.
You do? Why? And I guess before you started doing all this stuff, you had regular single hand rods, right?
Yeah.
Why did you want to change? What do you like about the Spey casting?
It just looked nice. It looked good. It looked good.
It does, doesn't
And
it?
the experience at Oak Orchard Fly Shop with spey fishing, two-handed rods in general, are you seeing it blow up in the last few years?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, probably about the last 10 years, some, and then in the last 5 years, just a ton. Especially for us switch rods. Steelhead, the biggest topic right now for sure in the past few years, and I'm sure will be for a few more years too. Without much backcast on rivers like this that are pretty wooded and tight, and the wading's close to the bank, stuff like that. I mean,
Especially when the water's up and you
yeah,
really can't
exactly.
wade out far.
There's some definite advantages there. I say part of it, I think what draws people to it originally is the it's cool and chicks dig it part, but then they discover that there really is a great, and really tried to convince people to learn spey casting, whether they have anything to do with two-handed rods or not. Just from a trout fishing sense, any of that. Our trout streams are no more open than our steelhead streams are.
Somebody who gave me crap because the guy I was fishing with was nymphing, and this gentleman said, geez, you know, you need to be swinging flies. And I think what's cool about this event is you're all fly swingers, right? You're all swingers. You didn't know you were, but so instead of drifting, we get to swing flies. But I thought for my demo, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'll hang out a little while, but after my demo at 1:45. You got to hang out and watch Rich Kustich's demo. He's going to talk a lot about some of the particular fishing techniques. I'm going to talk more about like hair care products and screw around with you a little bit on some of the casting and some of the things that fly rods do for you. Because amongst my failed hair care products company, I grew up in a crazy place for fly fishing, and that's San Francisco, California. I just happen to be the younger brother of Steve Rajeff, who's the world casting champion. So I'm not him. I don't have bolts sticking out of my necks and all that stuff. But Steve's a phenomenon, and it took a lot. But I worked on my casting enough that for a while there I was kind of beating up on him a little bit. But what the competition world did for me is it took all the stuff that I needed for making good casts for fishing, and it helped me fine-tune both my casting and understanding of equipment. So now I own a rod company called Echo Fly Rod Company, and I also import airflow fly lines. So if you have line and rod questions, talk to somebody else. No, but come see me afterwards. But I was once told, and it was Gary Borger, who said the average adult attention span is about 18 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep my demo a bit condensed. And there's so many great instructors here. You've seen Topher Brown, Simon Gosworth. If I was a girl, I'd get his phone number. He's such a great guy. Sounds cool, looks cool. He's like the James Bond of our sport. But Simon went through a lot of some of the reasons why D-loop formations happen, right? Didn't he cover a lot of that stuff? So I'm not going to duplicate that, okay? Which leaves me absolutely no idea what I should talk about. but I did write some notes down because there's some stuff that happens when we cast a fly line that's the same for a Spey rod as it is for a single-handed rod. The way that loop rolls through the air, boom. The way we form those loops are the same with a one or two-handed rod, so I thought I'd start with the single-handed rod. And there's some weird studies that have happened lately that leave casting geeks drooling that I'm going to go over also. And I'm going to keep this pretty simple because as instructors, it seems like most of us try and make it harder than it really is. There's some stuff that happens when you make a good loop. Can you guys see these loops rolling through the air? Like that one that just tangled? What happens when you throw a nice loop? And when I'm saying a nice loop, that line rolling through the air should be like a U or a V. Is this a good loop?
Is he still
does this look familiar? It's called a tailing loop. Yeah. When I'm saying a nice loop, there are loops that are tight, that roll through the air without tangling. And the same thing that happens when I make a forward cast is the same thing that happens when I make a Spey cast. When I mean forward cast with a single-handed rod. You do a few things the same. And I'm going to go over those real quickly. And what blows my mind is that we can take, I'm going to make a very simple motion, just like a windshield wiper move. You can take a simple motion, whoa, that was terrible. You can take a simple motion that it's just, see how simple this is? Let me try that again. I can take something that's just a rotation and make a narrow loop. If this rod didn't bend, wouldn't the tip travel in a curve like I'm painting an igloo? Wouldn't it? What happens when the rod tip does travel in a curve? I get a wide loop. What happens if you get the right fly rod for your particular casting stroke, it seems almost impossible, but the tip actually travels in a straight line. And what's cool is the fly line doesn't care if it's your hand or the rod doing this. If I go straight back, I get a nice narrow loop. If I get straight forward, I get a nice narrow loop. Plus, think of all the money you could save. You know, your dad or your buddy's out there like, hey, dude, how's it going? Straight back, straight forward, I get a nice narrow loop. A curve like an igloo, what do I get? Wide loops. So what should you have when you make a good cast? Straight. You watch really good casters and their hands go straight. You watch bad casters and things curve. Which rod should I put? Okay, so when I'm making a Spey cast, all the setup stuff that Simon was talking about, when I come forward, what should my rod tip do? Straight. If my rod tip travels in a big curve like an igloo, what do I get? Does that look familiar? We forget. We get all this stuff in our hands. People are watching, and we forget after all this stuff happens, boom, we need to get a straight path. How do you do that? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. If I could give you one tip for today, two tips. One would be don't take a sleeping pill and a laxative at the same time. And the second tip is buy a paintbrush. How many of you have seen this demo before? Somebody using this? Is this the coolest? Doesn't it work? Tony Vitale, a friend that's an instructor and fly fishing certified knucklehead guru instructor, he teaches people to fly cast with a paintbrush and a bucket of water. So Catherine, my wife, and I line beginners up. We give you a paintbrush and a bucket of water, and we say, to make a good cast, you need to flick water off a paintbrush. What happens if you snap too soon? Where'd the water go? All over me. It went up in the air. If I snap, if I go forward and I snap at the end, where'd the water go? Straight forward. That's what a good cast feels like. Is that cool? So I went to Home Depot. I bought 80 of these. They're for $2.99. I'm going to put these are $12.98. New casting tool by Echo. So this is
their product.
Yeah, you get it's designed. This is a hydrator and a casting instructor. But seriously, I have in my 52. I've been teaching for almost 40 years. Hard to believe. I've never had better success teaching than using this idea. So you're going to help me cast, okay? So everybody stick your finger up, dip it in the water. Come on, you guys, if I'm up here doing this, you got to help me out, all right? Bring it up, bring your hand by your ear, go forward and flick. One more time, that was pretty good. Okay, let's try it again. I'm going to flick towards you. You ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. And that, I could quit now, and I've done more help
to the
than I
Fish Creek
can.
Atlantic Salmon guys because they're doing some good work. 2 weeks ago I went down, we stocked 4,000 to 6,000 Atlantic salmon smolts into Fish Creek. The history was that it's a creek that was a tributary to Lake Ontario. It's been cut off by the Erie Canal and the Industrial Revolution, so we're restoring a historic fish into a historic waterway. They're getting some great returns. Some 17 to 21 inch fish have been caught in the last couple of years. And I just was amazed at the work that they do, and I'm proud to support them. I hope you guys are too. And this year we're also proud that you guys stepped up, gave some money to a great cause. Where's Paul? My math is terrible, so I don't have the dollars, the total dollars and cents, but we're giving this club to help them with virus testing and buying salmon eggs, and we're donating them about $5,700. Stop down to the hatchery, take a look at it. Take a look at it, see what great work they're doing. Take a look at the hatchery in McConnellsville, and you guys will be impressed with what these guys have done in a short time.
We're the big winners today, but thank you all. What a great group of guys. Thank you for your support, everybody.
Thank you.